let's unravel some historical mysteries together. And if you're enjoying these deep dives into the fascinating secrets of the past, make sure to hit that subscribe button. There are countless more stories to explore, many of them stranger than fiction. Now, let's step back in time to an era where something as routine as using the bathroom could feel like a tactical operation, and where women needed to be as clever and strategic as generals just to answer nature's call. Daily dressing routine of a Victorian woman wasn't just about fashion. It was an ordeal, a ritual that resembled preparation for battle. The process began with a thin linen shift, a lightweight, breathable garment that acted as a protective layer between the skin and the outerwear. This shift helped preserve the expensive dresses by absorbing sweat and oils from the body. Next came the corset, a tightly laced, stiff garment designed to mold the torso into the fashionable hourglass shape. Many women laced theirs so tightly that it physically altered their rib cages, creating a permanent indentation in some cases. Over the corset went numerous petticoats, sometimes as many as 6 or 7, each one adding more shape and volume to the lower half of the body. The most iconic piece of this layered ensemble was the crinoline. This was no ordinary skirt insert. It was a massive, cage-like structure made from steel hoops held together by fabric strips. It gave the dress its signature bell shape. It could span up to 6 feet across. As walking through a doorway or sitting down required practice and forethought. In fact, some crinolines were so large that even furniture had to be redesigned to accommodate them. Moving through the world in what was essentially a wearable piece of architecture posed unique challenges, particularly when it came to personal hygiene. Going to the bathroom became an act of planning, balance, and precision. These weren't spontaneous moments. They were calculated, quiet performances. The center of this daily necessity was the chamber pot. These weren't simply bowls hidden under the bed. Women's chamber pots were carefully designed to work with their clothing. They often had an oval shape with contoured edges, making it possible to slip them underneath the many layers of skirts and petticoats. Higher-end versions included tight-fitting lids, not just for reducing odors, but also to discreetly indicate whether the pot had been used. In affluent homes, these chamber pots were cleverly disguised. Some were tucked inside specially crafted furniture, armchairs with hidden compartments, cabinets that opened to reveal multiple pots, and exquisitely carved wooden commodes that masked their true purpose. Maids and servants had the unenviable job of monitoring, emptying, and cleaning these hidden items throughout the day, often with the grace and silence of stagehands behind the curtain. No, the Victorian lady didn't just lift her dress and go. Talking about 20 pounds of clothing, a metal frame, and layers of lace and cloth. Instead, women developed a precise, elegant method of positioning. The chamber pot would be placed underneath, and by skillfully shifting layers and adjusting their posture, they could relieve themselves without removing a single article of clothing. This choreography required as much finesse as a ballet routine. Social events, the process was even more complex. Lavish homes and grand venues often had retiring rooms, which were essentially luxurious powder rooms where ladies could retreat for private needs. These spaces weren't empty. They were staffed with maids trained in assisting discreetly. It helped lift the skirts, maneuver the crinoline, and ensure everything was aligned properly, then discreetly tidied up after. The goal was silence, invisibility, and absolute discretion. No one outside the room could ever suspect what had occurred. Now, here's where things get really surprising. For much of the Victorian era, women didn't wear underwear, at least not in the form we recognize today. All those petticoats and the structure of the crinoline were considered sufficient for modesty. That was fine until the unexpected happened. Imagine a gust of wind catching one of those giant skirts, flipping it up like a giant umbrella. It was embarrassing, to say the least. Such public mishaps forced a change. Enter the invention of split-crotch drawers. These early undergarments consisted of 2 pant legs joined to the waistband, but left open in the middle. This allowed women to maintain modesty without needing to remove anything for bathroom use. It was a practical, if unconventional, solution. The challenges didn't stop there. Toilet paper, as we know it today, wasn't widely available until the very end of the Victorian era. So people used whatever was handy, pages from old catalogs, Bits of newspaper, even soft leaves or scraps of cloth that could be washed and reused. In wealthier households, linen cloths were preferred. These were more comfortable and could be laundered along with bed linens and other garments. Menstruation added another layer of complexity to an already delicate situation. Victorian women used homemade cloth pads that had to be changed often, up to 20 times a day during heavy flow. They were held in place by what was known as a T-bandage, a belt system that secured absorbent material. These materials could be anything from soft rags to moss, sheep's wool, or cotton, whatever was available and could get the job done. All of this had to happen beneath layers of skirts, in total silence, and often without any help. Menstruation wasn't discussed, even among women. It was considered improper to mention and certainly not something that could ever be acknowledged in polite society. Even caring for the clothing itself was a challenge. These ornate, layered garments, stuffed with lace, ribbon, and intricate embroidery, weren't washed regularly. In many homes, a full wash happened only twice a year during a major cleaning event known as the Great Wash Day. In between, women relied on brushing, airing out, and applying powders to absorb body oils and odors. The washable underlayers, the shifts and drawers, were cleaned more frequently since they were in direct contact with the skin. These layers were essential for keeping the expensive outer clothing in good condition and were one of the few parts of a Victorian woman's wardrobe that could be regularly laundered. Public restrooms, as we think of them today, didn't really exist. Some homes and buildings used a system inherited from medieval times called a garderobe, which allowed waste to be dropped from an upper story directly onto the street. That's where the phrase garde-à-l'eau came from, a warning to anyone walking below to step aside before waste came raining down. Believe it or not, during wartime, even human waste had value. Government agents would collect urine to extract saltpeter, a key component in making gunpowder. That means something from your chamber pot might literally have helped fuel a battlefield. When it came to privacy, Victorian standards were nothing like ours. Families often used chamber pots in front of each other. At garden parties or outdoor gatherings, men would simply wander off to relieve themselves among the bushes. Yet despite these realities, Victorian women managed to preserve an air of grace and refinement. They developed tools, routines, and even social systems to help them navigate their challenging clothing and bathroom logistics. What might look bizarre or even laughable today was their everyday life, and they handled it with remarkable poise and precision. This window into Victorian bathroom culture isn't just an odd curiosity. It reveals how much effort people once put into maintaining appearances while navigating incredibly impractical systems. These women lived in a world where even relieving oneself required planning, discipline, and technique. And yet, they adapted, strategized. They built informal networks of knowledge. Mothers taught daughters how to move and manage their clothing. Servants knew how to assist without a word, and friends developed subtle signals to communicate bathroom needs without saying a thing. All of this highlights not just the quirks of the era, but the ingenuity and endurance of the people, especially women, who made it work. They were problem solvers, pioneers of practicality in a world designed without them in mind.